So, we've come to the part in our series now, which is rather technical, has a lot of little details, but it's about the method of centering prayer, the prayer of consent. Centering prayer is a discipline and a relationship with God. And it's a discipline that's in total service of the relationship. And I'd like to just give you a little example of it. Think about reading a bedtime story every night to your child or grandchild. And it's a discipline of sorts where you do it every night as a matter of structure. But in service of that discipline, you're developing a deeper relationship with that child because you do the same ritual night after night, day after day, night after night, I guess. And through the discipline of reading and being in relationship with the child, the relationship gets closer and there's a bonding. So that's what it means that the discipline is in service to the relationship. Okay? So there are 4 very simple guidelines in centering prayer. So guideline 1, choose a sacred word as a symbol of your intention to consent to God's presence and action within. Guideline 2, sitting comfortably and with eyes closed, we settle briefly and silently introduce the sacred word as a symbol of our consent to God's presence and action within. Guideline 3, when engaged with your thoughts, return ever so gently to your sacred word. Guideline 4, at the end of the prayer time, remain in silence for a couple of moments with your eyes closed. Okay, so you can see they're very simple. So now let's take them one at a time. Choose a sacred word as your symbol to consent to God's presence and action within. So the sacred word is our symbol. It's a symbol to consent to God's presence and action. It's not sacred because of its inherent meaning, but because of the meaning that we give it as our symbol. Okay? What does it mean to consent, to have an intention to consent? I'd like to use an example here of marriage in our particular culture. The engagement period would be considered a time of intention. And then some people even introduce their beloved one as my intended. So there's an intention there. During the service of the ceremony, there's a consent. We say yes to our intention. So our intention is manifested in our consent by saying yes to our intention. And it's not just one yes. It's a series of yeses over a lifetime, every day, moment by moment perhaps. So that's a good example. I like to use the wedding band as a symbol, that little symbol that holds our intention and consent. Now the wedding band could be made out of anything. A piece of wire. It could be very precious, made of gold and silver and diamonds. But the preciousness isn't so much about what the ring itself looks like. It's precious because of our intention and our consent to that vow or that commitment. So if we lose that ring, we feel badly, not because so much of the value of the ring, but because of the symbol, the meaning that it has for us. So that's how we grow in our meaning of our sacred word. Remember, I said it wasn't sacred in and of itself. It's sacred because of the meaning we give it. Over time, as we continue to use our sacred word as a means to consent, to say yes to the relationship with God, to the presence and action of God within. So what is God's presence and action within? God's presence is the divine life within us. And God's action is the grace of the transformation process. So it's twofold, presence and action, movement and stillness. Okay? All right. So the prayer of consent, centering prayer, is called a prayer of consent. So the next guideline is about our body. What do we do with our body while we're practicing centering prayer? So let's review the guideline one more time. And then I'll demonstrate a little bit to you how to do it, okay? Sitting comfortably and with eyes closed, we settle briefly and silently introduce the sacred word as our symbol of our consent to God's presence and action within. So we sit in a comfortable chair with our back straight. So we don't want to be slouching in our chair, but we sit with our back straight. And often a straight chair may be most comfortable for most people. You sit straight, feet on the floor, hands in your lap perhaps. And you don't want to bind up your head in any way. So you wouldn't want to be sitting back like this. I think if I were sitting back like that, I would be in danger of falling asleep because I would be reclining. So I sit straight up, feet on the floor, and it's a good idea to just keep your feet flat on the floor, hands relaxed. This is a comfortable position. You don't want to be so comfortable that it would encourage sleep, but you don't want to be so rigid that you're feeling uncomfortable and you're thinking about your body or experiencing your body. So you want to be in a position that your body is just neutral, neither too comfortable or uncomfortable. Okay, so it's very simple. Some of you may be used to be sitting in a cross-legged position or using some kind of a pillow on the floor or something like that, and that's perfectly fine. But there's no specific sitting posture for centering prayer. So that's basically the sitting posture and what to do with your body while you're in prayer. And then we introduce the sacred word as our symbol of our consent to God's presence and action within. We gently introduce the sacred word. So that leads us to guideline 3. When engaged with our thoughts, we ever so gently return to our sacred word. Now, thoughts is an umbrella term for any perception whatsoever. Inside noises, outside noises, body sensations, emotions, concepts, plans, reflections, memories, spiritual experience, anything at all, we consider under the technical term of thoughts, because it would be hard to say even if you think about it. When engaged with your thoughts, perceptions, feelings, emotions, body sensations, concepts, so we just kind of minimize it by saying, when engaged with your thoughts, and you know what I mean, return ever so gently to the sacred word. Now that gentle return is very important because we're opening to God's presence and action within, and we don't want to introduce our sacred word so we would jar ourselves interiorly. So think of it as the snowflakes falling, that gentleness, or a leaf falling off a tree, very gently. So we introduce it, and it's not audible, it's silent. So it's in our heart, not on our lips. So the sacred word is introduced from your heart. And it's when you engage with your thoughts. Because the thoughts are generally all about you. And we're in a position now to be still and to be in relationship with God. So we want to set aside ourselves. So we just go ahead and return to our sacred word. When we engage with our thoughts, now that means when we're thinking our thoughts or when we are engaged in an interior dialogue. Okay? It's almost like just a gentle, like a soft laying another the word, just gentle. Okay? At the end of the prayer time, we remain in silence for a couple of moments. Now, why would we do that? Well, we would do that because we don't want to abruptly end the prayer. How about if I was sitting here quietly for 20 whole minutes and suddenly at the end, I just jumped up and ran out the door? I mean, it would seem to just everything that happened in that quiet time would be shattered. So we just want to move gently into our daily life and go back into the activity of life and carry with us that little bit of silence that we gained during our centering prayer. Now, that might not be a conscious thing, but the mere fact that we've set aside the time to stop for 20 minutes is pretty significant, particularly in a busy world like we all live in. So to set aside that time for God is very important. And it's something we make a commitment to do twice a day. Once in the morning and once in the evening seems to be a good balance for most people. Sometimes people have their own rhythm and they do it wherever it fits into their schedule. So we carve out the time. And that in and of itself is a commitment. So you remember it's a commitment to consent to God's presence and action within, which is the building of the relationship with God. You and God are in the moment. Okay? So what I'd like to do now is take the opportunity to help you choose your sacred word. And then after that, I recommend that you turn off your TV and you spend 20 minutes in centering prayer and then resume afterwards. Okay, so let's choose our sacred word. So we might just want to, maybe take a few breaths, sing comfortably, maybe close our eyes. And I'll lead you in a short prayer. And we'll take the time now to choose the sacred word. And I'll begin with a short prayer. Loving God, alive at the center of our being, we open ourselves to you and we invite you to help us to choose our sacred word. Some examples of sacred words: God, Jesus, mercy, peace, yes, listen, silence. It's a short word, a word of one or two syllables. So allow the word to just bubble up from within you. There's no right word, there's no wrong word, there's no more sacred word or less sacred word. Just remember, it's sacred because of the meaning that you'll give it over time. So let's pause a moment and choose your sacred word. If you've had any trouble choosing your sacred word, just choose the word peace for this particular first period of centering prayer. And then maybe take time at another time and allow that word to bubble up. During the time of your prayer, you don't want to be changing your sacred word. Just keep whatever word you have now and use it. And don't give too much thought to it. Just let it be the word that you'll use. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. Now you have all of the information that you need to have your first period of centering prayer. You have the guidelines, you have your sacred word. So I encourage you to do your first period of centering prayer on your own.